This has been my pet question for the last few weeks, talking to either Florida, Florida State, or Miami guests.
Yep.
And I'm going to stay with it here to get your take because I'm a bit fascinated in the dynamics between those three schools. Because, of course, Miami's been down forever, 15 to 20 years.
Sure.
They've had reason to be excited here and there. They hire Mark Richt. They get some good recruiting classes here and there. There have been reasons to get excited here and there, but they have been the most down for the longest time between the three. Of course, Florida State won a national championship less than 10 years ago. They've been down for 5 years. Then they pop up with a nice season. We'll see if they can sustain it under Mike Norvell. Florida, if we take it back in the same time frame, you're looking at Will Muschamp having one really nice season, but otherwise a big disappointment. Jim McElwain took advantage of being in a down SEC East a few times. And then Dan Mullen upgraded season to season to season before he made some really costly bad moves. And then he, basically sabotaged his own stay there at Florida, and they're starting over with Billy Napier. So I've been a bit fascinated because it just seems like, whether it's in season or off season, that those three programs almost trade places in terms of who's got the trajectory. Oh, they just hired Mario Cristobal. Look at what he did at Oregon. They're taking off. Miami's recruiting well. Oh no, Florida State has a really good season. Oh, Florida under Mullen, They're, and it seems to be this rotating. Right now, it's Florida State, of course, that seems to be the hot item. But how do you see the dynamic playing out between those three schools and who's got the upper hand?
Florida State, unfortunately, has done a phenomenal job. Mike Norvell's done a great job recruiting wise. And look, they can finish 16th in recruiting. And we've talked about this multiple times is if Florida finishes 6th in the recruiting, that's more likely going to be 3rd or 4th in the SEC. So how good is that really? Right. Florida State finishes 16th in recruiting. Well, they're 2nd in the ACC. So they can still be dominant. Right. And he has absolutely owned the transfer portal the last 2 years. Murdered it, absolutely killed it. The average value of players that he's pulling out, they got the second best player after behind Travis Hunter and Vintrell Cypress. Same person, less value, phenomenal. Jaheim Bell, tight end from South Carolina. I mean, they're absolutely murdering it in the transfer portal. And again, they play, in my opinion, an easier conference, and so they're able to be more successful. So in that regards, I think Florida State's going to have the upper hand here pretty quickly. Look, Miami, it's funny to watch Miami because, like you said, they get excited for like a new head coach, as they should, right? I mean, with you being down for so long, any pulse down there in South Beach is going to get those guys fired up, as it should, because it's like they're looking for anything to grab onto. Florida, outside of honestly the Kyle Trask year, has been very mid for a very long time, and I made a video about this not too long ago. If we Florida fans think that it's 08 still, it hasn't been 08 since 08. It's been basically mid and not. It's been a slow downward trajectory. We just haven't been able to notice it because of those, like you mentioned, the quick upticks here, and it felt like, oh, we're back. We were never really back. We lost 2 or 3 games, which you can't lose 2 or 3 games. That's unacceptable if you're at Florida. So I think it kills me to say this, and my host is a Florida State fan, and hopefully he doesn't see this, but I think Florida State has the edge right now. I think Miami is farther than what people want to recognize. They had a great class. It's going to take some time for that to translate onto the field. In my opinion, they still don't have a quarterback, and they didn't do well in the portal. So I don't see Miami coming out of just nowhere. They had Miami. I saw some people last year to finish in the Final Four, and obviously we saw how that panned out. So, but look, the FSU's done this before, where they've got everything lined up, all the lights are on them, and they choke. But I think FSU is going to be a force to be reckoned with, at least for next year, and we'll see what happens after Jordan Travis leaves. But right now, they definitely have the upper edge.
And again, maybe the key phrase in all that is right now, because if we're having this conversation a year ago, Florida State's coming off 5-7,
Sure.
and there's
Changes very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely it does, especially with the transfer portal. That can really turn things.